Hi, my name is Mark Belaish. I'm president of Toronto LowestRates.ca. Thanks very much for being here at today's event at the Learn and Connect, a series for entrepreneurs. We run them monthly, and we bring on some amazing guests and people that can inspire and give some information about how they grew their business. And that's the purpose of our next guest, which is Justin Thouin. Justin is the co-founder and CEO of LowestRates.ca, one of the fastest growing companies in North America, and we're going to talk about that because it really is. He has been an EY Entrepreneur of the Year award finalist, and under his leadership, LowestRates.ca has ranked in the top 50 on Maclean's Canadian Businesses Growth 500 list of Canada's fastest growing companies for 4 years in a row, most recently placing 15th in 2019. So we're talking heavy growth company. Justin is a highly sought after expert in the areas of personal finance and entrepreneurship, frequently featured in the media. And in addition to leading LowestRates.ca, Justin invests in early stage startups and mentors aspiring entrepreneurs. As an alumnus of the Smith School of Business at Queen's University, he supports his alma mater through speaking engagements and student competitions, where he's able to connect with Canada's future business leaders. So thanks very much for being here, Justin. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, happy to.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about LowestRates.ca in a second here, and I'll intro the company in short time here. But let's talk about kind of your background as an entrepreneur, and how you became an entrepreneur. Like if you think they're born, or it comes with training and so on. So let's talk about why did you become an entrepreneur first off?
Well, for me, it was totally by accident. So I was working in the UK, and I was away 3 out of every 4 weeks. My wife was living in Canada, and we were about to have our first child. And at the same time as we were about to have our first child, my company said, Justin, all of our clients are in the UK. It's time for you to move here full time. And so since I wasn't willing to do that, then my company said, okay, Justin, we're going to have to part ways. And so I found myself back in Toronto looking for something to do. And I had a little bit more time than usual on my hands, and my mortgage and my car insurance were both up for renewal. And so I took the time to try to save some money on both. And I realized it was a real pain having to call 5 different banks to get a better mortgage rate and call 3 different car insurance companies to get a better car insurance rate. But through that, me spending about a week of my time, I ended up saving between $6,000 and $7,000 per year, which is a huge amount of money. It was like giving myself a raise of $10,000 to $12,000. So I said, look, this is a really good business idea. Like, why don't Canadians compare mortgages, insurance, credit cards, loans the same way as they do flights and hotels? And as I said, I was working in the UK, and in the UK, everyone does this. Everyone compares their mortgage and their insurance and their credit cards. They don't just go to the bank like we do in Canada. And so I kind of put 2 and 2 together, and I said, look, this is a really good opportunity. This is a really good idea. And I've learned a lot in the corporate world. So let's take everything that I've learned and apply it to this really good idea and see if we can make a run of it. So it really just happened through serendipity. And it wasn't my plan to be an entrepreneur. I went to business school. I worked in consumer packaged goods. I always worked in small, medium, large size companies and was a senior executive in them. But it just was the right idea at the right time in my life.
So, I've interviewed a number of entrepreneurs over the years that we've been doing the, Toronto Entrepreneurs Conference in this series. And a lot of them just are trying to fix a problem, or they feel that there's a problem that they need to fix, and they say, I'm just going to go out and do it. So it sounds like that's been your path. It's not like you at 15 you had a paper route, at 16 you started up a company, and so on. You really just wanted to fix a problem that you identified.
I did. I mean, I think that financial literacy is the biggest problem that Canadians don't know they have. If you ask the average Canadian, they'll say, yeah, I'm financially literate. I walk through the doors of my nearest bank, and that bank, I trust them. They're taking good care of me. They've taken care of my parents and grandparents. I'm making a great decision with my money. But what most Canadians don't know is that by taking a little bit of time to compare, they can save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per year. And if you think about it, Canadians compare everything in their life. Flights and hotels, they go to Expedia and they go to Trivago. Cars, they go to AutoTrader. Everyday items, they go to Amazon. But when it comes to the place where they spend most of their money, financial things like credit card interest, insurance, loans, mortgages, they don't compare. And so it hit me like a ton of bricks that there had to be a better way and that this was a huge opportunity.
Excellent. So let's talk about LowestRates.ca. So it's basically an online rate comparison site for insurance, mortgage loans, and credit card rates in Canada, which you've just talked about. It's a free independent service. It connects consumers directly with financial institutions and provides from all over North America to offer Canadians a comprehensive list of rates. And your mission is to help Canadians become more financially literate, which was the purpose. And you've already saved Canadians more than $1 billion in interest and fees, which is phenomenal. And obviously, people can get more information about LowestRates.ca. So you founded the company in 2012. So you thought there was the problem. So talk about the company, how it evolved, where it's at now, how you've built it, because, this is fantastic. 4 years in a row to be on the fastest growing list of companies. That's unbelievable. So maybe you can talk about that growth, how you managed it. And by the way, if anybody has a question, just throw it in the stage questions here as well. So go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have come a long way since 2012. So we launched the company with only $150,000. And we said to ourselves, we're either going to make a go of it with this $150,000, or if that $150,000 goes down to zero, then that's it. We stop and we go back to the corporate world. And so because of that, we have had to be so disciplined and so strategic with our choices, because a lot of entrepreneurs these days, they think, I want to go out and I want to raise a lot of money. I want to have a gorgeous office. I want to have famous shareholders. And that gives them the safety net that if they run out of money, well, it's not necessarily their own money. And so I feel as though entrepreneurs who are relying on that outside money, especially right away, don't necessarily stress test their idea well enough. So we had only $150,000 and we had to create a website. We had to create quoters to compare the different financial products. We needed to go out there and partner with banks, with insurance companies, with credit card companies. We needed to find a way to get people to come to the website, because it's not like we're a store on the street. So we had to do everything. We had to be lean and mean. And that meant for the first 3 years, I didn't pay myself a cent. I did everything basically except for coding. It's the only thing I didn't do, from product management to sales, to picking up the phone when consumers called the website, to taking the trash out. I was everything from the garbage person to the CEO and in between. And I think as a lesson for all entrepreneurs is that it is not glamorous. You have to put your head down and you have to grind day in and day out. And you have to be able to have the faith in your company and in your idea that you can go through the obstacles and through those hard times. And so it was a very, very slow growth. As I said, for the first 3 years, I didn't pay myself anything. We decided that to get consumers to our site with that $150,000, we didn't have the money to go out and advertise. So we had to try to rank in Google for terms like cheap car insurance and mortgage rates. And so SEO became a big focus of ours. But, we had our head down, we understood our focus, what we wanted to do, and we took step by step by step, and the snowball grew. We started to go up the Google rankings. People started to use our site. They told their friends and family about it, and it's grown and grown and grown now to the place where we're 8 years later, where, as you mentioned, for the past 4 years, on a revenue basis, we are the fastest growing financial company in Canada. And I'm excited about that. But what I'm most excited about is that millions of people use our site every year, and they've saved over $1 billion. And I think for all entrepreneurs, that's really important. You have to be so excited about your idea. It has to burn inside of you, and you have to build a team that has that same passion, because it's hard. It's so difficult. It's so competitive to build a company from scratch that if you don't have that, I don't think you're going to succeed.
Excellent tips, Justin. So initially, when you were just starting up, I'm assuming banks, financial institutions possibly didn't want anything to do with you. They wanted you to have some kind of track record. How did you overcome that? Because when you're starting up a business, you always have, well, call me back in, a year or 2 years. What are some tips that perhaps you can share to people watching on how to overcome those challenges?
Well, yeah, you have to be strategic and persistent. You have to be persistent. You can't be afraid to hear no. And if you hear no, you can't be afraid to ask the question again. And you really have to understand and get inside the mind of your target. So we have two targets. So one target is obviously Canadian consumers. And Canadian consumers, what do they want? They want to come on our website and they want to have a quick and easy experience and they want to save money. But the partners on the other side, so what are the banks? What do the insurance brokers? What do the credit card companies want? And what they want is to acquire new consumers at as low a cost per acquisition as possible. And so what I needed to do and what we needed to do to convince these banks and insurance companies and credit card companies was that by buying leads from us, they could acquire consumers at a lower price than they could with other marketing channels such as TV or radio or banner ads. And we also had to convince them that they need to get into this early because this is the way of the future. I shared with them what was happening in the UK and the US and Australia, where financial rate comparisons were a way of life. And it's still one of our biggest challenges, probably our biggest challenge, is to get partners, because our goal is to have every insurance company, every bank, every credit card company, every lender on our site, so we can truly be the first and only place Canadians need to go when they have a financial decision to make. But not all of them are on board yet. So this is still our largest challenge. So I think it's really important just to understand, to put yourself in the shoes of your target partner and your target customer and really understand what's in it for them. What are you doing that's going to make them want to buy? And I think that's a question you need to ask yourself before you start your company. It's a huge cardinal sin that many entrepreneurs make. They don't understand who their target customer is. They don't validate that their target customer actually wants what they have to sell. And then thirdly, they don't know how much they can sell their product for and how much it's going to cost. So they have no idea if they're going to be profitable. In my mind, a business is not a business if it's not profitable. And I think that entrepreneurs who say, I'm going to start my company and I'll figure out how to make money later, there's very few and far between that are successful. I think the most successful entrepreneurs understand their target customer, understand how much they can sell their product for, and understand how much it's going to take to generate a sale and how they can become profitable. Without that, we would not have been close to this successful.
That's great. So you've been one of the fastest growing companies that we just talked about. What challenges have you had in those 4 years? Or, you talked about the early few years, but what about the latter 4 years as you had this significant growth?
Well, tons of challenges. I mean, the first challenge, the hardest one for us, is signing up partners. Because if you think about it, banks specifically, right now, they don't put their best foot forward for mortgages. You have most Canadians walk in the door of a bank, take the first mortgage or credit card that they're offered, not knowing that there are better offers out there. And so it's difficult to get a bank to come and put their best rate on our website as long as people are walking through the door and taking less than optimal rates. So getting those partners on our site is difficult because it's going to hurt their profit in the long run. But our argument is that it's not going to hurt your profit, because even if you're charging a lower rate, your acquisition costs are going to be lower because we charge you less than it would cost to acquire a consumer otherwise. So that's always a challenge. Other challenges are, how do we keep getting people to come to our site? Because when you have banks and insurance companies out there spending tens of millions and in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars per year, how do we get people to keep coming to the site and know about us? And we've gone back to the place where we have to create an amazing product that delights consumers so that when they come to our site, not only do they come back themselves in the future, but they tell friends and family. So that's obviously another huge challenge for us, is delighting consumers across all of these different verticals. And then just how do we build the team? Because as we've gotten larger and as we've generated more revenue and profit, and as we've gone into more product verticals outside of car insurance and home insurance and mortgage, we've needed more people. So how do we grow the team with more senior leaders? Because when we started, we only had $150,000. So we hired young, hungry, intelligent people that didn't have any experience in most cases because we couldn't afford experience. But now as we evolve, how do we change the organization and seed it with the sort of leaders and more experienced people that we need? So there's always new challenges every day, but it's so exciting. And I think you have to be excited by every day and not necessarily be focused too much on a goal, but have smaller goals every day that excite you, because there's a lot of work. There's always going to be a lot of work. Being an entrepreneur is not as sexy as it's portrayed in the movies. It's all about grinding every single day.
Gotcha. Congrats on the awards. EY Entrepreneur of the Year award finalist. That's fantastic. What did that mean to you in terms of how that may have changed your business or how people view you?
Well, it meant a lot. I'm not one that does that much PR because, as I said, I haven't really had time. It's been mostly grinding, and whether it's doing product or sales or customer service or whatnot, I kind of had my head in the sand and just focused on growing the business because I was petrified that we would fail and that it would go to zero. And I don't know how I would have handled that because, this is such a big part of my life. This is not my job. It's a big, big part of my life, and it's intertwined with everything in my life. But the awards, it is a validation of the hard work that I've put in and that the company has put in and the business that we've generated. I think it really helps us the most in terms of just trustworthiness. So partners trusting us, consumers trusting us, being able to recruit the best talent. So that's probably like the offshoot of the awards that I appreciate the most. I don't think I really take enough time to kind of sit back and say, oh, that's amazing that we've accomplished that, because there's just still so much to do every single day.
Yeah, true enough. Well, let's talk about your day. How do you spend your day? Like how many hours a day, how many hours do you work a day, a week? Do you work weekends? Like, talk about, a typical day or week.
Yeah, well, I work a lot, and I have worked a lot since the start just because I've had to. I don't know if there's a typical day. And look, I don't feel like it's a burden that I work a lot because, as I say, I don't consider it work. I consider it part of my life. So I do have a good balance in my life. I spend a lot of time with my two girls. I coach their sports teams. I take at least an hour to exercise every day. I sleep at least 8 hours a day. I prioritize what I eat, but I do work a lot. I'd say probably in an average day, I work about 10 hours, and on the weekend, about 6 hours per day. So I do work a lot. If I'm on vacation, I work on average 6 hours each of those days, but that's a choice. I do think that to start a company and to be successful, you do need to work a lot. I don't think there's any substitute for hard work. I don't think you necessarily need to work as many hours as I do. I think as we build the team with more senior leaders, I'll be able to take a step back, especially in the details, and maybe not work so much. But I don't consider it a burden. I don't consider it a chore. I don't consider it work. I have flexibility in my life whereby if my daughter has a soccer game, I can go to that in the middle of the day because I don't need to be at the office from 9 to 5 or 8 till 6. So that's, I think, the biggest benefit of being an entrepreneur. While you need to work hard, you also have some flexibility, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah. Well, the entrepreneurs that have come on in the past have always said they work harder than anybody else. They outwork their competition to be successful. And they never feel like they're working a day in their life because they love what they do. So it sounds like you're in that boat.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't stress enough the importance of health, because I was 4 years into this, and this was right when we were starting to become successful, but I was not successful personally. I found myself in the emergency room. I had gained probably 20, 30 pounds, and I was having chest pains every day. And it was because of the stress and not taking care of myself, not sleeping enough, eating too late at night, not exercising. So I'd stress to all entrepreneurs, if you are going to take this on and you are going to work that hard, taking care of yourself is hugely important. You may say, well, I don't have time to exercise for an hour. I don't have time to sleep for 7 to 8 hours. Well, you can't not do that because you're going to burn out otherwise. There's very few Elon Musks that can sleep 2 to 3 or 4 hours a night. So I just encourage you to remember that. That's very important. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
Great advice. That's great, Justin. So what's next? What's the next year look like? 2, 5, 10 years? Like what's the next step for you?
Well, I'm really excited about the future. It's interesting. We've been approached because of our success by a number of companies that want to buy us for more money than I could ever imagine. And not once have I ever even thought we should do it. Because we're so excited about what we're going to do here. We've saved Canadians over $1 billion, and we're so proud of that, but we're just getting started. Like I said, our goal is to be the first place Canadians go when they have any financial decision to make. So whether that's a mortgage, car insurance, home insurance, credit cards, life insurance, personal loans, consumers should come to us because they know we're completely impartial. We're going to compare the entire market for them, and we're going to do our best to give them the right advice and the best price for their unique needs. But to get there and to deliver on that promise, we have a lot of work to do. As I said, there's a lot of banks and insurance companies and credit card companies that we're not partners with right now. So we have a lot of work to do to really deliver on that promise to consumers. But I'm confident we're going to get there, and I can't wait. I'm so excited waking up every single day, saving Canadians money, working with the exceptional team that we've created, and just getting the feedback from Canadians saying, hey, I've used your site and I had a really great experience. It means everything to me.
Excellent. Amazing story, Justin. So this was interviewing with Justin Thouin, co-founder and CEO of LowestRates.ca, one of the fastest growing companies in North America. Make sure to visit their website for information if you're looking for really anything to do with where you want to compare interest rates, right? Effectively.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Justin. Any other final thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience?
No, absolutely not. I just say, today's entrepreneurs are Canada's future. So if you're considering entrepreneurship, I think you're doing a massive service to Canada. And I thank you because you're going to be the ones that are going to be driving job creation in the future in Canada. So thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Justin. So for everybody else, feel free to navigate through. I'm going to be going into the networking area. Justin, we can maybe talk for a little bit more, but there's lots of sessions going on here today. I'll be back myself at 3:30 to talk about the state of the labor market and the Canadian jobs and so on. And thank Justin. Thank you all for coming. Thanks to all the speakers as well. And wish you a great day and stay safe as always. Thanks very much. Just give me a second, Justin.